Unified School District Governing Board meeting of May 11, 2017. The Governing Board met in closed session from 6:01 to 6:57 p.m. and took the following action. Under student matters, the Governing Board voted 5-0 to expel a student from Half Moon Bay High School for the spring 2017 and fall 2017 semesters, with the fall of 2017 semester expulsion suspended. The student will be eligible for admission to Pilar Citos Continuation High School for the fall 2017 semester, contingent on adherence to school rules, the rehabilitation plan, and a behavior contract. That takes us to item 6, the Pledge of Allegiance. Nancy and Michelle, would you like to? Takes us to item 7, adoption of the agenda as presented. Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5+1. Takes us to item 8. So I don't think we have any student staff committee recognition tonight. Item 9, comments from the public related to items not on this agenda. Are there any comments? Okay, seeing none, we move to item 10, representative reports. CUTA, Sean, welcome.
Evening. Let's see. Tired teachers and tired administrators, excited and restless students. This must be mid-May. But it's not June 15th, so we're finishing strong, busy, packed agendas, but we're not the only ones, because your agenda is packed tonight. Everything from alcoholic beverages to artificial turf to the contract approval. So I'll keep it brief. Encourage you to approve that contract that was carefully crafted, serving the needs of this diverse and unified school district. And I'll end with a promotion for the art department. The student art show will open next Saturday at the Coastal Art League in the Zavala House on Main Street. So opening 2 to 4, and I hope to see you there. Enjoy your hard work tonight.
Thank you, Sean. CSEA representative? Okay, seeing none, it takes us to item 11, reports, information, presentations. 11A, receive report on the advancement via individual determination program at Cunha Intermediate and Half Moon Bay High School.
So Mr. Dooley and Mr. Nazar.
Thank you, Superintendent Euster, President McCammon, trustees. Obviously, this is Mr. Nazar, myself, Mr. Dooley, principals at Half Moon Bay High School and Cunha, respectively. We have the great pleasure tonight to introduce just an update on how AVID has been impacting our awesome students at both of our sites, our secondary sites. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nazar first.
All right, so I think one of the big things that we've been focused on with AVID is really trying to live up to the ideals of it. And AVID was really started, just a very brief history, in 1980 in San Diego when they decided to integrate their schools, taking students from less privileged areas and busing them into more privileged areas. There was a lot of thought at the time that by the teachers that the students being bused in, aren't as capable and can't achieve like the students that they had traditionally been teaching. But a few teachers there decided that these kids are absolutely as intelligent and capable as anyone else, but by providing the proper circumstances and resources that these students will be able to achieve to the highest levels, and that became the beginning of AVID, the idea of advancement via individual determination. There's over 1 million students right now in the nation participating.
As you can see on our first slide, the mission statement to close the achievement gap by preparing all students for college readiness and success in a global society. And we both firmly believe that that is exactly where we are going with our secondary AVID program. And you'll see some data updates that really reinforce that mission in closing the achievement gap. So the impact of AVID in Cabrillo Unified, as we can see, we have some bulleted points up here about that impact. AVID is a system, teaches skills and behaviors for academic success for our students, provides intensive support through the tutorial process and developing strong student-teacher relationships, creates positive peer groups for the students, and develops a sense of hope for personal achievement gained through hard work and determination. As a result, policymakers and educators, Mr. Nazar and myself included, we now consider, as I mentioned, AVID's mission to be an essential strategy also for closing that achievement gap, making college access and success available for all students.
And we really have seen that both at the high school and I know at CUNY as well. We've just actually been awarded, and it hasn't come out publicly yet, an award to the high school for being one of the top schools in the state for starting to close the achievement gap. And this is not something we applied for, but we were recognized, and it was just a surprise to us, and we'll be putting out that publicity very shortly. And one of the things we're very proud of, that at this point we are now a 6 through 12 program. So a student can start in 6th grade and move through our system and graduate as a senior in high school, having 6 years of the AVID program.
Which would be our class of 2022. The first kids that have the opportunity to go through 6 through 12. So as you can see on this slide, we're going to start talking about AVID at my site, at CUNY. Prior to 13-14, AVID was always one class, and it was more of a study skills focused class, not clearly in alignment with AVID's mission. So in 13-14, we developed an AVID site team, continuing with the one AVID 8 section, got very serious on site. Then I showed up at 14-15, bringing the articulation and connection through the high school down to CUNY, and we immediately expanded everything, as you can see, with a lot of course sections, as well as we have 2 8th grade courses right now, a 7th and a 6th, and a 6th wheel, which is that exploratory option, which is a 6-week AVID exposure course. Here's a couple of pictures of our students. Obviously, our students we want to see, and we'll hear from a few of our AVID stars here shortly. Just some of the activities that they go through, kind of getting deeper into critical thinking and thinking outside the box, and some fun team and peer building activities. We try to stay away from acronyms in our presentations, but this one just kind of says it all. It's called WICR: Writing, Inquiry, Collaboration, Organization, and Reading. Lots of activities fall into those at both of our sites. Best thing I will say about this image here is it's absolutely aligned to Common Core. And that's why it's just great timing for us to continue our expansion of AVID as we continue our transition to full Common Core integration, as well as next generation science standards as well. A little bit of data that we have here compared to AVID Secondary, which is secondary throughout the United States, AVID at CUNY, as well as then our whole data set from CUNY. You can see our underrepresented students in AVID Secondary, about 86%, and AVID at our site, about 75%, and then as a school, about 53%. For us, it's mainly our Hispanic population. AVID Secondary throughout the United States, obviously it includes other subgroups as well. And then our low socioeconomic status backgrounds, very comparable to AVID Secondary throughout the United States as well, where we're about 54% in our AVID sections and 50% as a whole school. Click that one more time. Then we have one more graph here. I know the kind of printout was a little funny, but here's a comparison of one of the key data pieces for Avid at the middle school level, which is what Avid calls, they used to call actually advanced math. Now it's Algebra 1 or Common Core Math 8. So as you can see, 100% of our students are enrolled because we have a very rigorous 8th grade math course, and that is our Common Core Math 8 with our curriculum that we just adopted, as you all are well aware, our college preparatory math. Very rigorous course. Ask any of our students that are in it. They are learning a lot in order to prepare them for high school. And then one more slide with just a little bit of data. 54% of our Avid students are reclassified English learners. They are fluent English proficient. And our attendance rate of our Avid students is slightly higher than our school-wide attendance, which is a great piece of data. They're engaged in the classroom. And they also have a little bit higher scaled scores on our Smarter Balanced assessments in ELA and math, and then an overall GPA for all our Avid students of 3.0, which is fantastic. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the stage over to 4 of our Avid students, and they will speak to how Avid has impacted them currently and how it will impact them in the future. So we'll start with Miss Elizabeth Rodriguez first. Over here, sorry. Ooh, we got typos.
When I first took Avid, I didn't really have anything planned for the future. And now I want to become a teacher and get into UC Berkeley or San Diego State. I plan to take Avid and continue taking Avid at the high school. And I just want to thank Avid for helping me choose a path that I can end up somewhere good and further in my career.
And now Carla Castro.
Avid has really helped me this last year in Cunha. Every week we have a tutorial request form, which helps us when we are confused or having trouble solving a homework problem. And every Monday we set a short-term goal in which we have to accomplish at the end of school on Friday. And at the beginning of every quarter, we set a midterm goal, which we have to accomplish like when another quarter starts. And like Avid has helped me like look forward to what I want to do in the future. Yeah, that's pretty much.
And up next is Mitzi Hernandez.
Avid has impacted my life in many different ways. One way Avid has impacted my life is by helping me set goals for myself. In Avid, we set short-term goals weekly, midterm goals every quarter, and long-term goals throughout the whole year, high school, and college. For example, we do a GPA worksheet or a goal plan action worksheet every beginning of the quarter. First, you set your goal and you give a brief description or plan of what you are going to do in that goal. And you list action steps to make your goal realistic. Those goals help me strive to achieve more than I already have achieved or have to achieve. Another way Avid has impacted my life is by helping us stay organized, like this binder. We have binder checks about 3 times a quarter, and that helps me keep organized and turn in papers on time to get better grades and keep my grades up. Avid also helps us with the problem solving and critical thinking by using the tutorial request form or a TRF. During tutorials, we solve our problems by other peers asking us questions, and we think about it and solve it by ourselves without anyone telling us the answers. Those are just some ways that Avid has helped me.
And last but certainly not least, Michelle Hernandez.
Avid has changed my future by helping me organize and plan out my future. Some of the things we do in Avid are choosing our classes in high school and looking at what colleges we want to go to in the future. When we look at colleges in Avid, we normally look for the colleges we are interested in, and Avid has really helped me plan out my future and what I want to do with my life. And it's helped me figure out that when I grow up, I want to be a pediatrician. And we do a lot of projects to see what we're interested in. And as you can see here, Avid has helped me plan out my classes for all my high school years and some things I might be interested in throughout college. And overall, Avid has changed my future in a positive way. And
Give a nice warm round of applause for our student speakers. I think also Avid absolutely helps with public speaking. I would not have been able to do that in 8th grade. So great job, student speakers. And I'm now turning it over to Mr. Nazar.
All right, and once again, you see the same acronym because it's really just kind of showing the thread that we weave through from the middle school now all the way through the high school. So some of this, really the same focus is there, but of course it gets more intensive. Next one. So we just put out a few of the highlights, and I don't want to go too deep into it because I do want to keep this thing moving along. But as you can see, each year, starting their freshman year, it's a graduated type of program where they're doing Socratic seminars. That's a lot of times about inquiry and questioning. Very little of information they give to one another. They're always drawing it out of each other. They focus in their sophomore year looking at connecting to their A through G requirements and making sure that they are aligned with those. And then in junior year, really starting to prepare, looking for colleges. There's a big Avid spring break field trip. And then the senior year, it revolves some of the big projects around applying and preparing for their applications to the university. And just some quick photos of the spring break. They're all having fun, I think. And over the last couple of years, you could see the schools that our students have had an opportunity to visit, either through spring break or the ones on the left-hand column are done during the school year. So all students will do the one on the left-hand column, and the volunteers who want to do it over the spring breaks, which is a large number, did those. Just a little bit of information. 99% of our Avid students were A through G eligible. And then we have also seen, the data is, we're still gathering the latest data, but in 2013, 87 students were accepted to a four-year university. By 2015, there was 138, and we're seeing a further increase going further forward. That is Latino students, but Avid is a major piece of that statistic. As you can see here on this slide, that very significant numbers of students who are in Avid are really on the track for a four-year university. 90% took the ACT or SAT tests. 80% plan to work in college while they're going to college. And really something I think is a great indication of the confidence that our students are getting from this is the 50% of the students plan to live on campus next year as first-time freshmen. And you got to remember, most of these kids in there are going to be the first generation in their families to attend college, and those are very powerful pieces when they're stepping away and living independently while furthering their education. And then underneath are some of the majors that they're really looking at to pursue. And this is where our students are planning on attending next year. This is, I think, a pretty good list. of universities and a sense that our kids are going on to pursue their education.
John, this is acceptance.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Plan you're doing.
No, yes, they are, at this point, they are going, and you're going to meeting a few of them tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to our students to talk a little bit about where they're going. I'm going to start with Hector Moreno Rico, and he'll give you a little bit of information just so that you know Hector is a senior and has a 3.98 GPA.
I've been an AVID student for the past 4.5 years, and it's been a very rewarding experience. Without this program, I would have not known a lot of things that I would need to know. For example, the ACG requirements. I would not have been able to keep myself on track because AVID just provided such an immense amount of knowledge about the requirements we need to graduate, and that was very helpful for me. And one of my favorite key aspects in AVID is the camaraderie amongst our students. One of my favorite experiences was the AVID spring field trip, and I recommend any AVID student to partake in that field trip because, first of all, you visit colleges that are away from home, and you get to see how life would be venturing on your own. And I took a really liking to the schools down there. I applied to 8 schools in total, and 6 of them were from Southern California. And it was a very rewarding experience, bonding with them, and just these are people I will keep communicating with after high school. They're really amazing people that really strive to push themselves for academic success. I personally will be attending UC Santa Barbara in fall, and I will be majoring in biology.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hector. Very impressive young man. And our next one, Paulette Garduño Alves. She is currently carrying a 3.75 GPA.
I've been attending AVID for 3 years. I knew about AVID in my 8th grade year, and I was a TA for Mr. Betra at that time, and I was in that class, and they would take me on their college field trip. So I kind of knew a little bit about AVID, but I didn't know that it was a class at the high school at that time. And then I joined my sophomore year, and they taught me a lot about my A through G requirements and doing community service, and that's when I first learned how to do TRFs, which were super beneficial towards me during my science classes and my math classes. And then coming into my junior year, that's where I started signing up for my SAT and my ACT, and that was really beneficial for me because being a first generation, I had no idea that we needed to take these tests in order to apply for colleges. And so my junior year, we signed up as a class, and most of us signed up to the same school, so that was really hopeful for most of my peers and myself. Senior year was super stressful for me because my parents didn't go to college, and I would be the first one in my family going to college. So when it came to applying, my teachers and my counselors were really hopeful towards me and helping me, guide me on what needed to be done because I had no idea what applying for colleges was going to be like. The opportunities that I took advantage of during AVID was the AVID field trip because I am moving to a school in Southern California. I really took benefit in the tutorials because in my chemistry classes and physics, my peers were able to help me and guide me through some problems, which has been really helpful because I've improved my grades in those classes. My favorite thing about AVID, honestly, is the Socratic seminars. I really like being in a group with my peers and talking about any type of political problems or anything that we have on our Socratic seminars. I'll be attending San Marcos next year, and I'm planning to major in nursing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
And our third person presenting tonight, Viviana, she is currently has a 3.67 GPA.
Hi, my name is Fiona, and I've been attending NAVID since my freshman year, and I've been taking advantage of that because they taught me a lot of A3G requirements, and also my junior year, which is I got more help on that because they helped me with the test, prepare for the SATs and the SATs that I took, and they also it's helpful the TRFs on the math. Not really math because I'm doing good, but I've been helping my other peers on math and on the TRFs and everything. What other my favorite things in AVID is getting involved with other students and being as a family. The junior field trip, how my other peers said, I really took advantage of it because we really we were like family, and we were also being taught independent, how being far away from parents and everything. I'll be going next year to San Jose State, and I'll be in the major of education, being a liberal study. Yeah. That's it.
You know, when we were talking about what they're going to major in, I just love to hear that one about education. I mean, the rest of them are doing some amazing things, but also we definitely need our great educators. So I think it's both from Mr. Dooley and myself, and for our students that presented tonight, we want to thank you for giving us the platform to come and express and show a little bit about what we're doing. And so thank you for that. And if you have any questions, we're open and we'll try to respond the best we possibly can. Yes.
Quick question, and thank you. Wonderful presentations and fabulous program. My question is, starting in Cunha, are AVID students schedule-wise able to take music classes?
Yes, they are. Yes, that was a change for this year's master schedule as we opened up freedom for multiple electives through zero-period enrollment. We have very limited percentage of students that cannot have an elective, and we're talking single percentage based on either special education or English language development needs. But even some of those students are getting electives, which is a big change from the past. Great question.
From a coverage perspective for both schools, are we able to offer to all the students who would benefit from going through the AVID program access? Jeff, just big picture if you could.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are some specific requirements for AVID. One is they must maintain and have a 2.0 GPA, and they're not, it's also not targeting students that are 4.0s. It's taking those students that are in that middle band that have great potential and elevating those. So, but within that, that kind of spectrum, pretty much any student, they apply for it, and we're offering enough courses where they're, we have enough courses to meet all demand.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and at Cunha, we, in the time I've been there 3 years now, we have not turned a student that met, like Mr. Nazar said, the eligibility requirements away from enrollment.
Wonderful.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions?
I would just like to commend the students for
Fantastic.
reaching and just leveraging the most out of this program. You are smart, and it's just fabulous that you're taking advantage of opportunities to expand your opportunities, and you're never going to regret them. Good job.
Yeah, thank you, students, for your presentations, and good luck in the future. And we'll look forward to hearing more about where you go and what you do. Thank you, Jarrett and
See you
John.
in that graduation.
And we'll see you. Okay, takes us to item 11, receive report on the summer 2017 intervention program.
Thank you, President, Ms. Cammett, and trustees of the board. It is my pleasure to speak to you this evening about our summer intervention programs. And it's very heartwarming for me to get to hear from the students about the programs that we've created in our district in order to make sure that we meet our district's goals. Speaking of, our district's goals, as based in the Local Control Accountability Plan, which is also really our educational strategic plan on how we're going to be addressing the needs of all of our learners, is, first of all, Goal 1, literacy, focus on literacy and the reclassification of our English language learners. Goal 2, looking at college and career readiness, which, as you can see from our AVID presentations, is very much a large piece of what our goals are here in the district. Engaging our parents, as well as ensuring the safety and improving the school climate across all of our schools. And in order to reach these goals, we have many interventions that happen throughout the school year. Some of those interventions we realize sometimes mid-year that we still have more work to be done that we just can't do during the school year. For example, in the earlier presentations I've given to you about our LCAP goals, we've noticed things, for example, students who are making graduation requirements but not making A through G requirements, the need to really look at who are our English language learners and how do we identify them and get them reclassified as soon as possible. And with that knowledge that we built just within this academic school year, we are going to be implementing programs in the summer to address those things that we couldn't address as time was flying by in the school year. I look at summer school a little bit like a pop-up shop, little pop-up restaurant that actually functions like many schools, but in a much shorter period of time and then has to be taken down. And at the head of that really are program leads, and I'll be speaking about each of the programs within summer school, and our curriculum and instruction department really helps to coordinate across all of our departments, including pupil and personnel, transportation, food services, categorical programs, technology, to really put together schools at 3 different school sites to function to serve the needs of our students. An overview is that our students really cover pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. We do have students not only who are entering kindergarten, but we also have a migrant preschool as part of our services over the summer. The 3 locations include Los Listos Preschool, which is located just over there. And then we also have our classrooms at El Granada Elementary School, serving our incoming incoming kindergarten through 5th grade students. And then at Half Moon Bay High School, we have our incoming through current 12th grade students. We do have some current 12th grade students who continue during our summer school program. And as I did mention, we have varying funding sources, and those varying funding sources sometimes shapes the students who participate in each of those programs. So now I'm going to take you through each of our programs in a little bit more depth. We'll start with our youngest group of adorable preschool students. Our Migrant Preschool program, which is located at Los Listos, is currently funded through the Big Lift program. The Big Lift is a collaborative initiative across the county that involves 7 school districts and many organizations. And the purpose of the Migrant Preschool program is to provide year-round preschool for our migrant students. We have 2 classes, one in the morning, it's an AM class, and then a following PM class. The majority of these students are already participating in our year-round fall and through spring migrant preschool programs. Next, we move up to El Granada Elementary that houses our elementary programs. Our first program that serves our incoming kindergarten students through incoming second grade is also funded by Big Lift. The goal of this program is to support literacy through 3rd grade by providing high-quality summer learning for our incoming kindergarten through 2nd grade income-qualified students. Because this program is part of the Big Lift, our qualifications for our students who participate are based on the rules that apply to all Big Lift districts. Currently, we have 3 incoming kindergarten classes, 4 incoming first grade classrooms, and 4 incoming second grade classrooms. The partnership of this particular program is in collaboration with the Bell program as well as the Half Moon Bay and San Mateo County libraries to provide not only literacy and learning opportunities, but fun engagement, including field trips and opportunities for parent engagement, so that we can really help students to not only be interested and love literacy, but also be engaged with school and have high quality experiences that are throughout the summer. Our next program takes us into our incoming 3rd through 5th grade classrooms at El Granada Elementary. The funding for this comes out of our Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, as well as some site-based Title I and Title III accounts. The purpose of these classrooms in 3rd through 5th grade is to support literacy and math readiness for target students in incoming grades 3 through 5. And as you can see, as our programs build, we have the Big Lift K through 2. We have our intervention programs that are 3 through 5. And then as another layer of supports, we're also offering special education classes for elementary, again, located at El Granada. The funding comes through special education. The purpose is for extended school year for qualified students who are in pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. And these are students who qualify through their IEPs for the extended year program. The classes include pre-K that are also incoming K. We have 2 classrooms of 1st and 2nd. Actually, that's a 2nd classroom, that is, of incoming 1st through 3rd, and then another classroom of incoming 4th and 5th grade students. And I should take this moment to remember, I know that last year when I presented about, or it was actually this school year, and when I presented in the fall, I did talk about the metrics for each of these programs, and we are continuing to develop some of the metrics for these programs, but I'll talk about the ones we've already mentioned. With special education, we are going to be looking at the effectiveness really based on students' individual education program plans. So we're not going to be reporting necessarily on the full program metrics because of the nature of the program. For our intervention students, we are going to be looking at May compared to September reading levels, as well as other types of short-term performance-based math tasks for those programs. And for Big Lift, they also have their own program. It's called STAR. It's called the STAR test. It's not the old STAR test. It's actually an age-appropriate kindergarten STAR test that they call it. And then for Migrant Preschool, a lot of that work is going to be looking at participation, but also on age-appropriate preschool measures. And in addition to special education, we do have another target group at the elementary, which is actually not going to be mentioned because I forgot that Migrant is for 6th grade, I'm sorry. So moving on to the high school, our next location is Half Moon Bay High School. And one of our large programs for Half Moon Bay High School is our A through G and credit recovery course. And the purpose is to provide access to on-time high school graduation and to also provide access to A through G courses during the summer. One of the reasons why we've changed this course a little bit from credit recovery to A through G and credit recovery is because as we were analyzing our LCAP data through the year, we noticed in the metrics that there were students who were meeting graduation requirements. And again, our graduation rate was increasing, but our A through G requirement rates were not increasing. So we were recognizing that there were students who were meeting graduation requirements but weren't meeting the CSU, UC, A through G requirements. We wanted to make sure that we provided students with opportunities to be able to have access to that. So we expanded the group of students who can participate in this program. We have 2 classrooms for the A through G and credit recovery classes now. One is primarily humanities and the other one is primarily science and math, but it is a computer adaptive program. Next, we have a really exciting new program. This is one of our newest programs of the year, and we're calling it Jumpstart Reclassification. This is a collaborative program that we're working with our neighboring school district, Pescadero, and we're still working out some details, but it will be located at Half Moon Bay High. It's going to be funded through the LCAP, and the purpose is for the reclassification of secondary students. The way that students are identified for this particular program is to find students who are CUSD reclassification students, meaning that they've met most of the criteria for reclassification, but perhaps they were just a little bit short on the state assessment test, or they are 9th or 10th grade students who won't be taking the test because, or haven't taken it recently because the CASP test is only in 6 through 8 and 11. So they need some alternative forms of being reclassified to be able to have access to that. So it's a really exciting program that we're starting just this year, and we're hoping to fill the 6 classes with students who are going to be on the cusp of reclassification, with the goal of providing with them with an intensive program that at the end of it they will be reclassified. So our first program was A through G. Then we had another program that supports English learners. We have students at the high school and at Cunha who wouldn't fall under that reclassification program because they're not they aren't on the cusp of reclassification, but they still need additional support. And some of those students are migrant students who are in the incoming 6th grade or incoming 9th grade classes. The migrant program for a couple of years now has provided this bridge program for migrant students between elementary, those coming into 6th, and those who are bridging from Cunha to the high school as incoming 9th grade students. The purpose is to provide a bridge of English language support specifically for the migrant student population. And similar to our elementary special education program, Half Moon Bay High School also does have a special education program that's provided for students who qualify for extended school year for students who are in grades 6 through 12. We will be having 1 class for intermediate students and 1 class for high school students. And that concludes my presentation. I do look forward to being available to tell you more about how our pop-up shop goes and telling you more about the metrics in the fall. But I'm available now to answer any questions you have about our programs as we set out into the summer.
Any questions?
Just clarification, Jumpstart, are all of these just summer programs?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Joy.
Oh, one question if I get this thing or not.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you. First of all, I think you've done such a really great job of looking at the data that we have and really pulling it in and understanding where the gaps are. So first of all, huge thanks to do that, because I think that's such a great example of how we can use we all know limited funds, to the best, greatest effect. So first of all, thank you. The second question is more just informational, not specific to the summer programs, but because a lot of them relate to the migrant program. For my information, how many kids do we have in the district that are in the migrant program?
That's a good question. If I came up with a number right now, it would probably not be completely accurate. So I'd want to check on that number, but I can get that number to you.
Okay, cool. Just interested for my understanding.
The number does change frequently because students don't have migrant status in perpetuity, so they have to requalify every 2 to 3 years to maintain their migrant status.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. takes us to items 12, discussion items. Discuss the possibility of serving alcohol in town facilities.
Yeah, good evening. There has been a change in the law now about handling alcohol on school sites. Prior law said that it was absolutely prohibited. The new law says that it is now possible. So there was a discussion about whether or not, and there will be a discussion tonight about whether or not Cabrillo Unified should contemplate whether it wants to allow alcoholic beverage on site. And basically, the decisions that you have to discuss, this is not a board policy change because the board policy is already in place with the reference to the new law, so the board policy has changed. What it is a change to our facilities use permit. And the changes that are necessary in the facilities use permit are the recommended language changes, which is namely the group wanting to serve alcohol will have to get a license. And any breach of terms of that is immediately grounds for ejection off the site, and any other criminal and regulatory penalties. You have to have a certificate of insurance with at least $1 million per person and $2 million per occurrence. And you have to have liquor liability of at least $2 million, and all has to have an endorsement with the district name as an additional insured. And these come, by the way, from San Mateo County Council and the San Mateo County Insurance Group. So these are the recommendations of both those groups. There will be no minors present when the alcohol is served. So if you're going to serve alcohol, no kids. And that's state law. I mean, that's the ABC permit requirements. And it's clear on our use that no matter what, even if you somehow got a permit that said you could have kids around, you can't have kids around. And then it will not allow you to sell alcohol. So it's very much, you can serve, but you can't sell. So it would be one of these things where they would have to, you pre-buy your alcohol tickets. Any of you who've been to fundraisers, right? You get the $10 band, right? You go up and get. So but you can't sell. So you can't be buying cocktails as well. So the decisions that are in front of you, the discussion I think tonight for us is one. And the term, it's a very archaic term, it's called public schoolhouses. That's what the law talks about, yeah. And so you'll notice every time I kept putting parentheses going, district-owned facilities. So the question is, should we allow this to take place on district-owned facilities? Should we have it on all of our sites, or should we restrict this? And what should it, beyond what County Council is telling us to do and SPIGSIG is telling us to do, is there anything else we think we ought to be doing? And what I need is for you to give me some guidance on this. One other suggestion I would make to you so I wrote this board memo and now I've had a chance to think about it a little bit more. One other thing I think should be discussed is, do we want to just do this carte blanche, or do we, when we make the final decision tonight, say, let's do an experimental year and then re-examine this in a year and see if it's working for us. So I think I would now leave this open for discussion, and what I'm looking for at the end of this is for you to give me some guidance on what you would like us to do.
Okay, thank you, Jane. So any comments, questions?
That's a comment. Thought about this a lot. Jane and I chatted a little bit about it. There are obviously risks involved in making this decision, and from my perspective, I just am not really seeing the benefits to the district and the community we serve to providing this functionality. So, I'm open to hearing what it might be, but it's not clear to me as we start this discussion. So.
Well, just for information, Sophia and I, convene our PTO presidents meeting twice a year, and at this last one it was brought up, actually without us having brought it up at all, about the possibility in the future of having auctions at school sites and avoiding the costs of paying for IDES or other kinds of halls, and that they thought that would be a good way for them to raise more money to support students in schools. So it definitely was brought up as a need, as a desire to have that possibility.
Okay, thanks for that perspective, appreciate it.
I could chime in as well. My perspective, although there is some stated interest, and although I think it's hard to imagine a scenario where that interest could meet the criteria that are outlined here in terms of insurance and licensing, so it's hard to see if we were to align with the San Mateo County recommendations, which I would think, of course, we would, if we were to go forward with that. I also am having trouble seeing the trade-offs in favor of moving forward with this. Primarily to me, it sends a mixed message to the kids in our community that we can't have fun in an auction without alcohol. You know, I mean, maybe that's okay if it's off campus, but to me, it just doesn't sit right to have alcohol on campus anywhere. And maybe I'm a little bit more on the conservative side, but just, again, to me, I feel like it sends the wrong message to our kids to say, we're gonna be drinking at an elementary school or even a high school. I don't know which is worse, you know, but you shouldn't drink till you're 21. You know, to me, it just seems like I don't feel really all that comfortable with that mixed message. And I don't see how the trade-off of, you know, the cost benefit of the hall rental for a auction would really offset that for me. So.
Or an auction on school property just without alcohol. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there are alternatives.
So my comment would be that as it is now, different PTOs do go off-site to have auctions. And the reason why they do that is so there can be alcohol used. Again, this is not in the presence of students. And events can be larger, more money can be raised. That's a certain reality. And it's not that we would be advocating the use of alcohol, because that's still an individual choice as it is anywhere in life. And I think if you had to explain it to your kids, it could be done quite easily. But that we have sites that are in use by public, and it is a source of revenue by fundraising groups, which we do support in general. So it's a tool that I would not be opposed to it, based on the fact that there are constraints. There is allowable, so we meet all the criteria needed by the law, and it would just be part of a use agreement that if there were condition existed where that group wanted to incur the cost of being able to serve alcohol, to facilitate the goals of their fundraising activities, that it would be allowed as long as it was done within the law and within the use agreement. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think to me, it is okay. It is something we do now. We go somewhere else and spend some of the proceeds that would be coming back in the fundraising event. So some of that money is spent to do it anyway, so why not be able to use our facilities in a setting where there are no students involved?
So one comment so I've also thought about this and just throw it back out. We have one facility now that is isolated, though it sits technically on a campus. It's fairly isolated, and that's the new event center over there. I would not personally be comfortable turning loose Fair Longview or any of the usual MUBs at any of the sites. It just makes me uncomfortable. But I could see the one place that I'd even experiment with this would be that youth center with the stipulations on that it's not used on a night when there's a Cunha dance or any major Cunha activities going on, which means kids aren't there, and it follows all the other things. That's the only place I would even talk about experimenting with the idea. So that's just something to think about. And again, I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying that would be the only place I think isolated enough that it could even be a contemplation. And it won't be cheap, by the way, because simply for us handling the maintenance of these things as these go on, people aren't going to say, if they think it's going to be $0, they're wrong. And especially the event center, simply to get the tarps down and back because of the flooring activities, it'll be a couple $1,000s or more for groups coming in there.
I'll learn to work the button eventually. So having been part of groups, whether it was doing the fundraisers in elementary or through the high school, I have heard that request multiple times, that, oh gosh, wouldn't it be convenient? And I certainly agree with no students present. Given the high bar that's set for having to obtain the permits and being responsible for all of the costs incurred and assuming all of the risk, if a group of parents were to choose to do that, they could weigh perhaps the cost benefit of going off campus and having to, in the case of the auctions, you're having to transfer a whole lot of things, and it's a lot of labor. And we ask parents to do a lot of volunteer work. There's that potential benefit of using a school campus when students aren't present, that potentially for staging and readying at an event could be practical. In terms of, I would be curious of what's happening with other districts. Do you have any feedback on others that have implemented?
There are only 2 that I'm aware of in this county. Sequoia is doing its very first event this spring, and they don't know yet. So, and there's who was the other one? There's one more, and they're both in the early. That's how I have even some of these stipulations. So nobody's been doing it for very long, and most of them are doing it. One of the districts, only certain sites, and all these insurance requirements. So everybody's in their first, you can't have done it for very long because the law changed about 6 months ago. So people are just barely starting to experiment with it.
An example of one event, and I don't know if it was on a school property, or probably not, if that was the law not to, but Menlo Atherton had a big gala every year for jazz bands and raising funding for music program, and it was just an enormous fundraiser with alcohol present because it was more of a speakeasy kind of setup and created an entire event for the adults. So many of those fundraising possibilities have alcohol as an option.
Can I comment? I don't think that enabling this use or allowing this use is promoting the use of alcohol. And it's not, we're talking about adult activities that happen, whether it happens on this campus or not. And we're talking about facilities use that are under a very controlled condition. And that's, in that sense, I'm comfortable with it. I don't think we would ever see ourselves as an educational institution promoting anything such as alcohol or tobacco use. But we have to be also realistic that, to ban tobacco use on campus and then have employees standing along the property line smoking is a little bit hypocritical, and yet it exists. So I think that if we're, there's a certain reality here. If we can allow the law as a test case, I wouldn't be supportive of it.
Worst case is, regardless of the liability coverage we have in place, and that individual adults are responsible for their own behavior, an event happens, someone makes bad choices, is under the influence, leaves campus, a Cabrillo Unified location, and causes an accident that injures themselves or someone else. Just, again, the balance of benefits. Again, I've not heard anything that's really a benefit truly. I hear the fundraising thing, so really we're saying, and I get it, right, because I've been to enough auctions. If you're there drinking, you might go a little looser with the auction and so forth. But, I think allowing events to happen on the campus, we can do this event without alcohol if it's that important. It's not really a cost savings versus IDS or other places. But I think, as stewards for the community and the tax money that we've been put in these facilities, I'm just flat out not comfortable with it.
would be, open to in a year if other schools have done it successfully or not, or if there's movement in the community, or if there's some way of setting it up in a way that would satisfy some of your concerns. You can review my recommendation at this point. Does that sound okay? Okay.
Thank you very much for the guideline.
Discuss and hold public hearing for changes to board policy regarding suicide prevention.
Yeah, hang on, I gotta catch up with you. I have them all in a row tonight, sorry. So, the suicide rate in our teen population is downright frightening. In response to that, the state has, again, changed its laws and is talking about very aggressive steps that need to be taken to protect our most vulnerable populations. And suicide spans all socioeconomic backgrounds, all nationalities. Popular, not popular, it seems to know no boundaries. So the state has come up with some new laws regarding it, and they're very specific on what is expected to take place. There is new board policy that will be later on today that will adopt the training of our staff in recognition. You have, in fact, in front of you a draft of the suicide prevention handbook, which will be used to guide this district and all districts in San Mateo County for the handling of these sorts of incidents. Mr. Corey has been heavily involved with the training of every one of our, so our staffs are receiving training now from the county on proper procedure and recognition. We, of course, also have driven this forward with the expansion of our school-based services program and our counseling program so that we have, frankly, more counseling available to our students when they are in need. So as part of the adoption of the new board policies and of the new strategic actions that we will take in these areas, the first step is to have this public hearing and to get any input from the public before we make the adoption of the new board policies.
So do we do the discussion first or the public hearing first?
The public hearing is first, which is an open discussion in the public hearing, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, public hearing is first.
Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing on the new policy for regarding suicide prevention. Are there any folks in the audience who would like to speak on this issue?
Yes.
No. On suicide policy.
That we passed that.
Are there any comments from the public on the suicide prevention policy? Any discussion amongst the board?
I think it's a great idea to start education. I mean, it's a huge suicide and its prevention, of course, is a huge thing. It's an ever-growing problem as far as the amount of stress that kids feel these days, and it seems to be worse in some regions. But my question, the toolkit is great, and I would like to know more about how it's going to be, how people are going to be educated about it, the professional development that's going to occur around this, and just general awareness of really being able to understand and see this when stress levels are building up in kids. This is about proactivity, and it's so important that we learn to understand when people are displaying signs of extreme stress that could lead to this. And I hope it's in there, but I want to know that it's not just in there, that it's in everybody's hearts and minds.
So
Great. I'll turn that on.
you definitely, Dr. Raymer hit the key word when you use the word education. And through the Coastside Mental Health Collaborative, that's a group that's been on the coast now for, I believe, 2-3 solid years. And we have all site administrators, district administrators, and all mental health resources on the coast as part of that team who work under the leadership of the county office. And this COSIDE Mental Health Collaborative is directly responsible for putting this toolkit together and also helping us train and educate, first and foremost, our educators on the coast, and then rolling that out to our staff at large. So fortunately, our Half Moon Bay High School staff, Pelicitos, Cunha have already been trained by members of the COSIDE Mental Health Collaborative, and they really focus, if you notice this one large handout, which is also a page attachment within your toolkit, you'll see that the indicators and warning signs. So we can talk about it, we have a board policy, but for staff, for teachers, for classified staff, what are the warning signs? As a former high school English teacher, I remember one long night reading 175 essays, and my 175th essay was a suicide note embedded within a 10-page essay. That was the frequent indicator, but even more importantly, for our classified staff who may hear something in the cafeteria or may notice a student, these are the warning signs that we need to roll out through our professional development plan. So we, and I, and really our empowered team, which consists of classified and teachers, we meet on a monthly basis, and at our last Empower meeting, we're advocating that mental health training, wellness training, actually take place on our first day back in August, and then an ongoing training capacity as well, and really helping teachers identify warning signs and then who to refer people to. And that's really the exciting part of the expansion of the Schooling Services Counseling Program with interns. What an amazing development and expansion. So it's one thing to refer someone to a counselor who's got a 500-to-1 ratio, but now we have so many more additional trained and qualified people to provide that support. But it goes beyond that as well. It also goes to educating parents. Talking about suicide and depression in my household, growing up as a child, was not a very popular thing to talk about. It has that connotation of something's wrong. Yes, something is wrong and we need to talk about it. But I really refer you back to this poster, which is placed in a lot of our classrooms already, and really building a multi-tiered approach to talk about this topic. But education and PD is already been rolled out and will continue to be rolled out well beyond the board adopted policy.
What about at the student level, though, in terms of peer counseling, peer awareness? Is it in there?
It's definitely a component, and oftentimes the first person that may know may be a peer. And of course, we hear the tragedies of Facebook and live suicide and et cetera, et cetera. And I think one of the programs at the high school that's been recently implemented is the peer helping program. And talking to an adult, talking to a counselor, perhaps a stranger, but being able to talk to a peer in that capacity. And another important rollout, I think, as well, to Cunha and the high school has been our Challenge Day. And if you've ever participated in that activity, what an emotional day. And I know that the bonding and the rapport from those activities is very helpful. But really, and kind of coming back to a multi-tiered, inclusive school community, I was trained by Jerry Aragoni at Mills High School. He said, the most important thing you say every day, Corey, and I was like, oh my God, let me get a pencil. He said, say hi to every kid who passes you. And I'm like, and that's all the training I got in 30 seconds to be an assistant principal almost 28 years ago. But that's the type of rapport and embedding that, the kindness campaign that you hear Mr. Nazar talk about at Half Moon Bay High School, and that's kindness peer-to-peer as well. So it's not one solution, it's not one training. It's really about community building and about letting people know that we care and that we're here to help you. But the expansion under Superintendent Euster of our interns has been very, very positively received by our staff and our students as well.
Hey, John, in the theme of becoming a more data-driven district, which is great, based on some of the presentations we've already seen tonight, last year you presented student survey results relative to mental health, stress, anxiety, thoughts of suicide, and so forth. Remind me timing on the next pulse check, if you will, and how we're gonna see directionally how we're doing. I mean, all this is important regardless of the levels, but it would be important to have an understanding of.
Yes, and James Barnes and Deanna Tower have been leading that ongoing effort as well. I think there's also some probably even more recent through the Panorama survey that was implemented as well with regards to students' connectedness. And I think that suicide is rising to the top because of the data and because it's more commonly discussed, but I don't have a target date for an updated presentation, but it's not a bad idea to bring that back to the board as well. But we have two sets, the California Healthy Kids Survey.
I think that's the one I'm referring
Yeah,
to,
and we
right?
also have the Panorama that I think Jane is more familiar with.
Do we do the Healthy Kids Survey every year?
I believe we've done it every year, we just haven't scheduled a presentation.
So we have done it or have not done it?
For the spring, I don't know if we did it this spring or not. I don't recall if we did it this spring. I was referring to maybe being able to do the Panorama, you know, if we wanted to isolate or just focus just on suicide.
The Panorama survey and the Healthy Kids survey, so the Panorama is general school connectedness, you know, and do you have a caring adult you can talk to. The Healthy Kids goes deeper,
Yeah,
if you
great.
will, very deep into it.
Yep.
And we'll have to check with Barnes. I thought the Healthy Kids is like every other year, and I don't know what this, I mean, my memory when I gave it at Redwood City is it was every other year that we did the Healthy Kids.
But that's a district choice to administer it once a year, every other year, or?
I
is it
don't,
state?
so I can't,
Just
I'm
come
not
back
gonna
us.
guess.
I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, so I'll look back up the Healthy Kids stuff for you, and I'll get you an answer.
Yeah, it seems silly to skip a whole year.
Yeah, well, that depends on how often you get to have it, so I don't know.
I
We'll have to
understand,
look-
yeah,
we'll have to
right,
look at it.
exactly.
We'll have
Thank
to
you.
look it
I
up.
look forward to hearing back.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, I'll check it out.
Okay.
Hey, I just want to commend Jane and John for being ahead of this issue and having done a lot of this work already. I think that's really wonderful. I just want to make one comment. I think that some of this has to do with stress reduction. And I know that we're talking about it with the wellness committee at the high school. Maybe there's things that we can be doing at Cunha. Sometimes talking about the actual suicide and all that can be uncomfortable, but if you do the way early prevention and really start talking about stress reduction, you know, homework levels, how are kids feeling, testing, all of those things that cause kids to be really stressed out can lead to all of these behaviors and other behaviors. So it just seems like that would be an
Spot on.
important thing to focus on.
Yearly, Rob. In answer to your question, yearly.
Yearly?
Yes.
Okay, so
And it
we,
Should have yearly data.
will we
Yeah, but I'm
be
not sure we
administrative?
have, so I have to.
Check with James.
Okay, all right, you know other
Yeah.
questions, please let us know. Okay,
Yeah, I'll
thank
let
you.
you know.
Thank you.
Yes, I think kind of a follow-up to Freya's comment, I agree wholeheartedly in doing an assessment of our policies and procedures, I think is probably worthwhile towards our general objectives around mental health and wellness more generally. So, you know, start time, I think we've made some really great progress around shifting things around based on the data we know about how kids work and how they thrive. So kind of looking at that systematically across the district, I think would be really terrific.
Great. Any other comments from board members or members of the public? This is a public hearing, so if anybody has a comment or suggestion, happy to hear it. Okay, that closes our public hearing on our board policy change regarding suicide prevention. Takes us to item 13, communications. Oh.
Sorry, would you check the Healthy Kids, see how often we're administering it?
Well, I'm going to check with Patty and see if they can make it. Or if not, we can check. Anyways, communications from board members. Who would like to go first?
So the event that I enjoyed last was the grand opening of Pillarcitos High School, which is over in this corner of the district lot. It was a delightful event on a very blustery day, I guess. Interesting weather that day, but it didn't keep us from, we almost filled up the multipurpose room, I think, and people toured. There's a lot of people that have been through Pillarcitos, because they had been former students, and then there was parents representing them. It was nice to see and speak to a large group of people that see the value and the importance of a alternative high school and a place like Pillarcitos for those kids that don't quite fit in. It was really enjoyable couple hours on a Saturday morning.
I can go next. I was with Kirk on that day too, and just was a really great feeling to be able to, really demonstrate in a tangible way what we have as our motto, somewhere here, every child, every student, every day. Really, I think the Pillarcitos High School really is a testament to that. Also, I had the opportunity to visit Martha at El Granada, which is really terrific to see the campus up there and to get to know the teachers and the kids there a bit more, and just get a sense for the really great positive environment and all the really great work they're doing, collaborating together and setting really high bar for those kids and seeing them, step up. So thank you for that, Martha. I was able to join Freya as well as for the PTO heads meeting she mentioned a couple weeks ago. And it was really just a terrific opportunity to get people together and just be more connected. And we do a lot of the same things across our community, and to be able to think about the synergies and best practices and learning that we have is really exciting. And so that was a really great opportunity. Was able to attend an event at the Brews and Views program. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that over at Half Moon Bay Brewery. Actually, it's the ones at Mavericks, but called the G Word. And it was really just interesting to me to see. It's a documentary that's coming out in the next year or two, I imagine, about the gifted population and the challenges and opportunities to serve them well. And drew a lot of parallels with special education as well. And a lot of the gifted children have special education needs as well. So to me, just how we think about all the unique needs of our students, it's just really, so you could look at it in different ways. It's nice to see that discussion happening in our community. So that's all for me.
I wasn't able to attend Pillarcitos opening. I was on vacation, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank the community for the trust in the district for passing the bond. Pillarcitos is our first most significant tangible impact from the bond, and it's fantastic, and it's great for the kids, and as well as for the community, the adult classes there and so forth. And just to remind, we've obviously got right next door, we've got Hatch well underway, and that's going to be fantastic as well, and the track as well. So I just want to remind the public this board is very focused on making sure that money is spent well and cost efficiently and with the most impact as possible, and you can expect that's what we'll continue to behave going forward. So sorry I couldn't be there, but thanks for attending.
Takes me 3 times to get tonight, sorry. So, I've been on work-related travel quite a bit this month, so I haven't been to as many sites. Stopped by the high school during Teachers Week and dropped off the infuser and spearmint. But I just wanted to follow up on the AVID presentation, which was so strong, and it's gratifying to see the progress these students are making, and I really am delighted that students could be in more than one elective now, meaning they can be in AVID and in music. We had some problems a few years ago where students were forced into a choice of just doing a remedial type program and not having that elective. And music education is something that improves performance in academic areas as well as improves wellness and our roundedness, completeness to education, that I think it's really important for us all to be mindful of. You understand it if your kids finish it at the high school, and you've known to plug them in. And I'm just hoping to hear messaging in the future that we encourage that diversity and choices in the future. Things to just ponder. No one way to do it, but figure that out going forward. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So, thank you to the school sites that I've visited so far. It's always a pleasure to come and meet with the principals and to sit in the staff room. I don't do as much getting around the classrooms, but I'm going to try and do that in the future. So I got to Hatch and Kings Mountain and Fair Longview last week and was able to deliver the mint and the infusers. Thank you, Sophia, for pulling together the gift from the board and the superintendent for all the school sites for staff and teacher appreciation. And then was able to make it to the high school yesterday. Thank you, John, and to El Granada earlier this week. Thank you, Martha. I'm still enjoying the eggs. And I'll be making it to Cunha next week and Pilarcitos the following week. So I really enjoy going to the school sites twice a year. It's just a nice way to interact with teachers and to chat with them. Sometimes it's about very important issues, and sometimes it's just about how are your kids and what's going on. And so that's really lovely. Again, the PTO coffees, it's been really nice. We're formalizing them. They were kind of created with Kate and I, and they were done at our house, and now we do them here in the district boardroom. And in the fall, we're going to be including a session with Crystal so that the PTO presidents can be familiar with what the budget process is and other types of things. So that was really nice to get that going. There's one other thing, but I forgot it, so go ahead.
I think 3 times 3 is for me. All right, so I'm gonna start off with Hatch. Hatch had a very busy week. I'm sorry, a busy month. On April 7th, they had an amazing talent show, and they had over 40 students from all grade levels participate. And they went on to do some other field trips to Curiosity, the Academy of Sciences, the Heel Farm, and also to Stanford University. And for Earth Day, they had an awesome assembly on the rainforest by the Wildlife Associates and Safe Routes to School. And they also had a musical called Rock the Block. And the bike mobile repaired their bikes later on in the day. The 5th graders took their SBAC test this week, and their leadership club has had a kindness box implemented in their office. So hopefully that will lead a more positive vibe in the school. And they had their fiesta last Sunday, which I actually won a cake in for once. So that was very fun. I always love going to those every year. Fair Longview, they had a very great talent show as well, and it went on until 9 p.m. And they are very grateful and fortunate for the local artists that helped to make it a professional show. They also want to thank Miss Diana for running another garage sale that collected over $2,000 for Lit Club. And they would like to thank Jane, Freya, and Irene for visiting and giving them feedback. They would also like to shout out Miss Jan Forslem and her dedicated volunteers who run the reading program at Moonridge, which I've heard has been a success and making a difference. And Half Moon Bay, we've been finishing off a month filled with testing. SBAC testing came first, and we're just about to end our last day of AP testing tomorrow. AP Human Geography, I believe, so those are the freshmen. And prom, we ended April with prom. Prom queen and king are Ashley O'Keefe and Angel Ramirez. April, that's when a lot of the seniors heard back from colleges, so we're all happy that's done. And we're just waiting for the end of the year. And from May 1st to May 5th, we showered our teachers and staff with love. We are thankful for Rocket Farms for giving us a bunch of succulents, and we were able to give every single staff member and teacher one, and we wrote a note saying thank you for helping us grow. And I thought that was really cute. So yeah, we're excited for the end of the year and end of June, and we're excited to have our first ever throwback dance at Cunha. So We can't wait to relive Cunha days. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Superintendent?
So we're coming to the end here, only about a little more than a month to go. I've had a great time visiting schools, doing my classroom walkthroughs, going up, and the last visit I made was at the high school. I actually got to see the kids taking the AP tests. Boy, was it quiet in that room. An amazing thing, and kids really buckling down. I mean, I wish them all the very, very best. Their teachers have blood, sweat, and tears, and from all parties, and may you all get 5s on those examinations. Now we're coming into the season of the open houses, and I'm really looking forward to getting to our school sites and seeing the wonderful work of our kids and what we've been up to all year. Final dances are taking place, and it's always fun to be at the dances. Got to see a couple of our girls' softball games. It's been long overdue for me to get up there and watch our Lady Cougars, and they are outstanding. And the team is a great team. It's always fun to watch the sporting events at our high school. The camaraderie is amazing. Our swim team has been just taking names. I mean, our girls' swim team is almost unstoppable. And just a marvelous group. It's just fun to watch our kids have a great time. And deep down inside, I really don't care whether they win or lose. I just watch them as fine student scholar athletes, and I'm so proud. And now looking forward to graduation and for the commencement and promotion activities, and grateful for another spectacular year at Cabrillo Unified. Thank you to all our parents. Thank you to this community for its generosity and its patience and its support of us every step of the way.
Thank you, Superintendent Easter. So there were some folks who had wanted to make comments under item 9, comments from the public related items not on this agenda. With the discretion of the board, do you mind if we just do that briefly now? Okay. No, there was no motion that was needed, right, Patty?
No, just the consensus.
Okay. So I just want to remind the folks who are going to come up and speak, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not actually on the agenda under discussion items or action items. So we will hear your comments, but that's all we can do. It's under state law that that's required, because otherwise we would potentially be making decisions on items that other people didn't know were action items that we were making decisions on. So that's why that is in place. We also like to limit our comments to 3 minutes. And if you find that you're repeating, you're welcome to come up and speak together if you all have the same, looks like you all have the same topics. So I'll go ahead and call you, Veronica Rodriguez. And just go ahead and tap.
So hello, I'm Veronica Rodriguez. I'm the mom of 3 boys here in the district, 2 at the middle school and 1 now at the high school. And all of them have gone through the middle school and have had a great experience. My boys are flourishing in the district, and we're really happy. One of the things that I want to talk to you about today is I just heard that Mr. Gutierrez is leaving the school district. And I was just devastated because he has been an enormous, I think, shining star in the district. I've dealt with different parent groups here, the site council at Hatch and at Cunha. I've been an active parent with the PTO. My voice is going to get on. With the boosters, the music boosters, very involved. And I only have positive things to say about the way he's interacted with parents and with the students at any time, any day of the week. I've always had enormous positive things coming out of the interactions with him. He's been extremely engaged with students and parents. He's had a deep connection with the community, the Hispanic community. I'm a board member in ALAS, and we do music, we do dance, we do different things. And he's invited families that are newcomers, families that have children who are struggling with the language, that are new to our community. He's invited them to become part of our community through ALAS, and has really shown a deep connection with the students that I think is commendable. he's homegrown, you know, he's here from the community, and he's invested in our community, and the community is invested in him. He supports and mentors our children, and as a community, we stand behind him. We would hope that you understand the enormous value that Mr. Gutierrez brings to this community, and that you value the contributions that he's brought to our community. So, thank you for your time.
We will be honoring all of who have resigned this year,
Okay.
not living.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, patio murals?
Oh, okay. Georgina, Nora? Oh, okay. Yolanda? Or Belinda? Okay. Find one of them.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you so much.
Sure.
It's nice to be with all of you today, and I appreciate the time. I appreciate what Beto said about Mr. Gutierrez, and I really wanted to come tonight to just really highlight what he's done for the community. And I feel that when you have someone like that, it's really hard to let them go in a way that he's really opened doors for the youth and the families of our community. So I want to talk about something that in academics, we talk about the Latino pipeline, and how do we open up the pipeline that can get clogged for whatever reasons, whether it's, different educational barriers, what we see as perhaps barriers to students flowing through that pipeline. And one of the things that I really recognize with Mr. Gutierrez is he's really opened up this pipeline here in Half Moon Bay for the Latino children and for their parents. And I'm also a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a professor at the University of San Francisco. And when we talk about mental health, I'm on the front lines of Latino mental health particularly. And one of the things that I heard for years is how scared children were going to Cunha. And that came from the parents. The parents, the kids, and there was all this kind of like mythical fear that was out there, but it was real. And the parents really kind of embodied like, what is this experience going to be like for my child? And the children would really talk to me about this whole transition from elementary to Cunha in a way that it was almost like a monster. That has completely, and it's not because of the school, just this kind of like, what is this new place going to be like? It's so big. We're small families. We don't have, sometimes language access or spaces where we feel comfortable. And since Mr. Gutierrez has been there, that's completely been dismantled. In so many ways that I can say that the children feel really safe there. The parents feel nurtured and cared for in a way that they can speak to, obviously, both principals. But because of language, in particular, Mr. Gutierrez, he's opened up so many doors. And all at the same time, like he's a strict principal and really cares and wants to have high achievement for the students. So when we heard that he was leaving, it really, hearing your conversation about suicide and about mental health, like this is a mental health issue for our Latino community. Because what we look at with this is that it bridges a safety net for our children. He represented a sort of common space of safety for parents to come in, for children to come in, for students, and also a really belief that, hey, someone looks like me in this school. Someone speaks my language in this school. That's not, only a teacher, but an administrator. It means so much to our community. And to have that loss is something significant in a way that I would like to say, how do we look at someone like him leaving and say, how can we keep you here? I just heard Mrs. Hines talk about music education. Mr. Gutierrez was the first principal to open the doors for the mariachi program in the school. If you are in any other state, in California, in Texas, mariachi education has shown to be a huge factor in children and increasing children's learning. Just as we said, like music in and of itself is powerful. And it's sensory, and it's stimulating, and it's challenging. And the language has really opened up and fostered a way for children to feel safe. So he's really been on the front lines of doing some innovative work. And aside from that, I know he's very caring for the students. So I would just like to encourage all of you to really consider what his loss means to our community, what his loss means to the students, and and also to recognize the really good work that he's done for us. And if there were any way that we could try to keep someone like him here, I think it's of so much value that's worth more than one student, but it represents so many students in this district and so much success that we've seen in them. And I can go on and on, but I'll just tell you one last story. There was a student that just came from Mexico, and Mr. Gutierrez was very concerned, and in fact, he's been concerned about most of the students. And it's as if he gets them and carries them to spaces that he knows that they'll get help. And he encouraged them to be with us in our program, and these students have blossomed, and they're English learners, and their self-esteem is growing. And so I really want to congratulate Mr. Gutierrez for seeing our community, for bringing these students out of the shadows, and for witnessing the parents' strengths for who they are.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'm not seeing the other women here, so go ahead and not have the comments. Okay.
Can I use one as Paul? I'm not on the list, but can I?
We have to fill out a green sheet one. You can fill it out after, but you just have to fill it out and give it to Patty.
Okay.
But yeah, sure, come on up.
Okay, I would work with Mr. Gutierrez for 3 years, since my daughter started 6th grade. I was member on the ILAC. He helped me a lot. He teach me a lot of things I didn't know before. And then another thing, where I'm still like a parent, I mean, I can speak English, but some of the parents not speak English. So when you use like a translator to say what he says, one translator between parent and then principal, or parent and the teacher, is totally different. The person who translates never tell you exactly the same thing. Always change words or something, but it's never the same, And then another thing probably sounds really kind of like funny. It's like
Sorry, Mr. Dooley.
but I think Mr. Dooley and Mr. Gutierrez, I figure like a Batman and Robin, work together, on the good team. I mean, sorry, but this is how I can feel. They work together like a good team. And then another thing I see on Mr. Gutierrez is sometimes I take my daughters to Cunha on the weekends when it's not school, and I see him ride his bicycle around the school, to check in when I think he's supposed to be not working, or sometimes late on the games, basketball games or volleyball games on the gym. So I really appreciate Mr. Gutierrez. I know I'm not even more in Cunha next year. My daughter's going to high school, but anyways, I really appreciate Mr. Gutierrez, and I say thank you for all the things he teach me. And I think it's really good key for the community who doesn't speak English.
Thank you, Juana. So just give the green sheet to Patty.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it takes us to item 14, consent items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve 5 plus 1 to 0. Takes us to action items, of which we have a lot today. Approve, first one, 15A, approve textbook adoption for Half Moon Bay High School. Is that you, Joy?
Yes. I was just watching. This is bringing back to you for request for formal approval of the textbook adoption for Half Moon Bay High School. Last month, we presented both the math textbook adoption for college preparatory math, as well as the Spanish language textbooks for Descubre.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? A second? Any questions, comments, discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5 plus 1. 0. Takes us to item 15B, approve the Cabrillo Unified School District and Cabrillo Unified Teachers Association successor negotiated agreement for the 2016-17 and 2018-2019 year.
Thank you very much. It is with great excitement that we bring to the governing board this evening a new 3-year agreement between Cabrillo Unified School District and CUTA. First and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Reardon and to Ms. Wall, the president of CUTA and the chief negotiator for CUTA, as well as the district negotiating team, including, of course, our superintendent, our CBO, and our assistant sup for CNI as well. This was in my 11 years that I've been in the district, really serving as the chief negotiator for the district, but really facilitating and really doing everything we can to land in the best spot for everyone. This has been a true cooperative effort. We started, I think, our first session with a request for a new salary schedule, which isn't always unusual, but a salary schedule with a beginning salary of $50,000 and a landing at the bottom of $100,000. And we were a little taken back, but not totally surprised with the request. But at our second session, I think our superintendent said, you know what, we think we can do this. And I remember looking at the faces around the table, and I knew right then and there that in this interest base, that we had a common interest of creating a new salary schedule that, of course, we can afford, which involved a lot of behind the scenes from Crystal. And usually the weight of the world is on me on the language. You know, although language changes can cost you a lot of money. Hats off to our CBO for spending, I think we spent 5 days at the table, but the amount of time crunching numbers behind the scenes and looking at different scenarios and asking ourselves, can we afford this? And verified through the AB 1200, I believe, that's also part of the packet. The county is verifying that we are moving in the correct direction. But kudos to the team for coming up with this agreement. A credit to everyone around the table. As you can see within this agreement, it is a 3-year agreement. So it'll be running 16-17, 17-18, 18-19, and it's a closed agreement, which makes a lot of HR people happy. There's no reopeners, if you will. But as I walk you through this agreement, you will see the salary schedule enclosed, and it's over a 2-year period. So we have a new salary schedule starting 17-18 and 18-19, and landing at that 100,000. And this was really intended to retain veteran teachers in the district. And obviously, at some point, you become locked in at a cell, right? You've moved all the way over and you've moved all the way down. And this was an opportunity to recognize teachers in our district who have been here for a long time, that unless they're getting a straight across the salary scale, and not moving down through any longevity or moving over in any columns, they're not in a position to continue to keep up with neighboring districts. So we believe we have a competitive agreement, a competitive salary schedule that will be used going forward to retain and recruit new teachers in our district. I think it's important to note also within the agreement that we have frozen for the duration of this contract additional costs associated with previous increases that have been formulaic, whereas the salary schedule gets increased, so does the co-curricular schedule, so does the master's stipend, and we have reached agreement that those will be frozen for the duration of the contract agreement. We also did address the issue of health and welfare. The district, effective July 1, 2018, will be increasing the cost and contribution of the district for Kaiser, vision, and dental to $11,167, and that effective date will be July 1, 2018, and that is included within this agreement to help compensate the employee-only employees in our benefit plan currently. Also included within this agreement, a very important step related to compensation is salary credit for previous years of service. So previously in our district, we were only permitted to grant 6 years of previous credit, which means that a new teacher to the district could only come in at step 7. And we've been able to increase that to 11 years of prior service, meaning that now we can bring someone in at step 12. It may seem like a small difference, but we've been bringing this up at the table for years. And it's always tough to bring it up because you always wonder the people that were hired the year before, right, that did not receive that benefit. But I think CUTA, to their credit, understood our repeated request, and this is an opportunity to bring in more experienced teachers and to fairly compensate them on the new salary schedules. So additionally, we also, in response to a CUTA request, teachers now, and like many districts, are starting earlier in August. I think our start date for 7/18 is August 16th, and currently teachers are not paid until September. And as a former teacher myself, that's a long time to go without a paycheck, looking for quarters in the couch. Remember the days. So Crystal, in contact with the County Office of Education, has secured a manner to have teachers paid in August. I think especially our new teachers coming on board, that'll be very beneficial. Again, sounds like a small thing, but a big thing for our teachers at large, and kudos to the business department for making that happen. One important notation, obviously the financial compensation, looking at what does this actually cost and anticipating over the 3-year period. It's noted in the cover sheet that it's a 3.25 average increase over the years, over the span of the contract. And what do we do if a problem does arise? And you'll note on the final signature page, just before the salary schedule, there is a safety net, if you will, that basically makes a provision that we can, if these financial numbers do come up, that we do have the opportunity to reopen negotiations over class size for the purpose of considering changes intended to enable the district to achieve at least a 3% projected reserve. And I think that's important to know, that if indeed something happens and the budget is continually changing, I'm not sure what the May revise notations will indicate, but we do have this opportunity. And of course, class size, we always want to keep class size small, but the opportunity for true savings to make any changes is noted within this agreement, that we would come back to the table to negotiate class size. So again, the totality of this agreement is I think Sean used the word craft. There was a lot of crafting done with language, but it was genuine. And in the 11 years I've been here, we didn't really call it interest-based bargaining, but it really was interest-based bargaining. We understood the requests, we understood the motivation, but truly kudos to Jane for leading this process and really making it happen. And I'm really excited and proud to be able to bring this to the governing board this evening for your approval.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? A second? Okay. Any questions, comments, discussion?
With comment, I'd say congratulations on both sides for making this work. Wonderful.
Yes, same for me as well. And it's Sean and Kathy, thank you, and Jane and John. It's a great outcome, because rewarding and retaining our great teachers is a top priority for the board, and rewarding and retaining our great young teachers is also a top priority, and attracting. We have our unique aspects, cultural, beautiful place, but it's got to be living. It's got to be wages that work for people so they can pay their housing and take care of their families. And we're taking a step in that direction, but boy, what a challenge it is in the Bay Area, but a great step. So thanks to all.
Great. Yeah, just want to echo that. Thank you to all of our own team, district team, and to Kathy and Sean from the union, and for the whole union for ratifying the contract as well. So a great step forward, and coming right after Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. All in favor? Oh, it's no, not a resolution. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 5+1.
15C, adopt resolution number 9-17, declaration for substitute C-best waiver.
Thank you. And this is an annual request that is required to bring forward to the governing board for approval. As you know, substitute teachers are at the high priority list. We still receive calls from districts over the hills that want our substitute teacher roster. They want names and phone numbers, and the answer remains no. But in the event that we need to permit a C-best waiver, which is one of the requirements, this resolution, pending your approval, enables us to move forward with placing a teacher, a substitute teacher in the classroom. So this is an annual resolution brought forth to the governing board. It's anticipated 15 substitute teachers. It could be as few as 1 to 3. But as soon as we bring someone on board, the county office will ask us for this document. So we do bring this forth. We don't utilize it in the extreme capacity. We prefer that we do have it on file, but it is required to be approved by the governing board.
For the record, would you define CBEST?
The California Test of Basic Skills, Jane, what's the California?
California Basic Examination of Skills.
States test.
Your
It's-
academic exam.
It has a mathematics and an English section, and the English section has both multiple choice and writing, and then
It's a very basic test, and it's usually not a test of being able to pass the test, if you will. It's just a matter of timing. And sometimes we're meeting with people on a Friday, and we need them as soon as the
Real
following
quick, can I just have a
week.
motion to approve in a second, and then we can discuss? Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so go ahead, keep discussing.
Yeah, just
All right.
thank you for defining. I think
Sure.
that everybody ought to be completely clear on what this, what
Fair enough.
the writ barrier is. Okay, thank you.
And I just want to confirm what I heard was that it's not so much like it's lowering the bar for the substitute teachers, but it's more allowing the timing to align with the need.
Correct.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? And this is a roll call vote, this is a resolution, so. Aye.
Aye.
And it passes 6-0. Thank you, John. Takes us to item 15D, adopt resolution, fiscal year end resolution number 10-17 to approve budgetary increases and transfers at year end.
Yes, good evening. This is a year-end house cleaning resolution that is brought to you this time each year. And what this resolution allows us to do is by approving it tonight, the business office doesn't have to request for a special board meeting to do the necessary end-of-year budgetary transfers. So tonight I ask you to adopt this fiscal year resolution number 10-17.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, discussion?
Let's do it now.
Okay, seeing none, it's a roll call vote, starting with you, Kirk.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it passes 5+1. Takes us to item 15E, adopt another fiscal year end resolution, number 11-17, to approve appropriating ending balances to a reserve.
Yes, again, this is in the end of the year process resolution bundle. This allows us to appropriate the ending fund balance so we can stay within the GAN limit that we actually approve when we do unaudited actuals in September.
Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
A second. Roll call vote, start with you, Kim.
Can I ask one question?
Oh, yeah, questions, comments, discussion, sorry.
Okay, so it's a sideways on budget, because there was, we had conversation after you did the last, the budget presentation about, impact in the future on, based on mandatory benefits. When does that hit? And
Talking
I'm
about
thinking
STRS and
about
PERS?
reserves.
Talking about
Pardon?
STRS and PERS increases?
So the unfunded liability is something that districts will have to deal with. I don't see an end in year. I don't see the state addressing it. Still with May revised out today, they have decided to give PERS, CalPERS a loan, which of course
the interest will have to be paid through the backs of school districts. The unfunded liability is built into our budget. And when we have certain out years that are projected to be higher than previous years, I tend to budget on the extreme conservative side and try to put a little bit of the ending fund balance towards an emergency, as that, if that happened to occur in a year that also the state has decreased funding for school districts.
Okay, any more questions or comments, discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Aye.
Aye.
It passes 5+1, 0. And then next is to item 15F, approve contract for Anderson Brule Architects for the repair and reconstruction of Building C at Cunha Intermediate School.
Yes, tonight I bring you a contract for a new architect, an architectural firm that I feel is the best fit for the repair and reconstruction of Building C. Definitely within the best interest of the district. The way that these contracts will be brought to you is in an increment process, but this process will not slow down the repair. This process is the most conservative so that we can monitor how the rebuild and the reconstruction will actually go, and we can monitor the amount of contingency that's needed in each phase. I will be bringing them back at another board meeting to introduce, but their qualifications are above par, especially for this type of rebuild.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Any questions, comments, discussions?
So this is not a contract to repair. This is a contract to hire an architect to do the plans for the repair.
Correct.
Any further questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Passes 5+1 to 0. It takes us to item 15G, approve agreement for turf installation at the Half Moon Bay High School track and field.
The track and field project is one of the many rewarding projects that we're able to do because of the wonderful commitment that this community has bestowed upon the district with Measure S. And so tonight, with this action item, I bring you the field turf, which we've talked about several times for several different reasons. I'm not sure if anyone has ever seen it when it's not installed, but this is actually what it looks like. And it was very hard for me. I apologize, having bubble wrap sitting in front of me is like incredibly tempting.
Glad you didn't pop off.
So, just very vibrant colors. And then you can also see what I thought was interesting. I was like, well, are they going to cut it down?
No, that's
Because
the
it looks
bill.
a little straggly. But what it does is this actually stays, and all of the infill goes within it. So, what is really important on the infill is there has been several conversation of what the best infill is. And I'm very happy to report that the infill that the district has chosen to go with is an all organic product, which will be cork. So I also have samples of that. You can smell it, it's very earthy. It does not have a wine smell though.
To
my trained nose.
So if we had alcohol school facilities, we could recycle the cork.
We could, I didn't have a grading party. So this, the type of purchasing mechanism that this is used is through the California Multiple Award Contract, which that acronym is CMAS. And what it does is California has already gone through the bidding process to find school districts, vet the contractors, vet the products, and find the best price for the school district. So tonight I ask you to approve the contract for the new field from Field Turf.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. Okay, any questions, comments, discussion? See the turf?
I would comment that the color selection she's bringing up is
that black and orange will be on the Cougar field.
Is there gonna be any green?
There is
That
some
part.
green in the name, but black and orange in the end zone.
I tried to go with, my vote was for all orange, like they do in Boise, right? And then we have orange uniforms, everybody would just blend in. That'd be our new defense, or our offense, the camouflage.
My question, given it's a little different composition than other just artificial turf, with all this infill, is there a maintenance cost with it?
So the maintenance cost is no more than what we currently have right now. You know, the current maintenance is to definitely go over it, as often as needed. You fluff it up, you settle, because obviously this is all loose in there, and it really just stays put because it's so deep and layered. And they go through and they rake it a couple of times a year. This may require some dampness, but it's hard to say in this area because we get the humidity. That will also weigh down the cork as well.
It's only float out, so it's assuming there's no flooding.
It will not float out. No
Or
flooding.
close,
There's drainage.
Okay, we're counting on that.
No, I visually have seen the drainage. So, and we did talk about that at our last meeting, that the amount of drainage is that this turf and these mechanisms together, everything drains this way. So you don't get that puddling on top as you would with real grass.
In light of some of the concerns about the rubber that's used in fields, I couldn't get it to go on. It's frail. You got the magic touch. Okay. I tried, trust me. So in light of that, and there's studies being and bills and so forth, I think it was very forward-looking for us to do the cork, just in anticipation if there was some sort of rollback where those fields may be pulled up or whatever the case may be. So, well done. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to echo Rob's comments. I'm really glad that we're using this instead of the recycled tires. And I know that the data is not there yet, but you wouldn't want to have it come in when you saw the whole field full.
The other comment on a cork-based field is that the temperature will be about 30 degrees cooler than a rubber-based field. So for our kids.
So from 60 feet to 30 feet?
Yeah, but when they're on the fields in the summertime, yeah.
So we have to worry about ice?
Yeah, exactly. They can go
You have to worry about ice.
Has it chilled?
Any other questions or comments, discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5+1. That takes us to item 15H, adopt resolution number 12-17, supporting the award of lease-leaseback agreements.
Yes. Effective January 1, the lease-leaseback requirements have changed. Our district does use the lease-leaseback mechanism for our construction projects. It is found to be the most conservative way to control cost and to allow the most planning for the district to achieve the best benefit in our overall projects. So the business office presented to the board on March 9th the best value methodology, which is the first step within this new process. This is the second step, so an RFP was sent out. Contractors responded. They were graded based on that best value methodology, and after consideration, the highest contractor that got the highest scoring is Block Construction, who currently has completed Pillarcitos and is working on Hatch. So we will be using Block Construction for the repair and the reconstruction of Building C at Cunha. So tonight I ask you to adopt a resolution 1217 to support the award of moving forward in the lease-leaseback mechanism.
Great. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution? A second?
Second.
Okay. Either one, Patty. Doesn't matter. Choose, they both did.
Can I just ask a question before we
Yes,
go to
question,
vote?
comments, discussion.
So does this mean that they're our preferred construction vendor for all construction projects moving forward?
They are. It does have to be, they have to, the eligibility is for 1 year, so
Okay, so
they're
you're-
good for 1 year. Yeah.
And provided they have like the capabilities and competencies to perform the project. And
So it's based off of, it is based off of insurance, lawsuit, price, planning. There's, off the top of my head, I don't remember what all of our methodologies were. But it just allows the district the most flexibility in choosing.
And so if there were, just to confirm that my understanding, if there were some kind of issue to come up where we had a, hopefully will never happen, some kind of issue come up with the construction vendor, would we have the opportunity in that year to make a difference, like a?
The district
To change.
always, within the contracts that I will ever present to you, has an out if a relationship is falling and our project, even mid-project, is not going in the best interest of the district. We have the freedom to make a decision and go in a different direction.
Just wanted to double check on that.
Absolutely.
Just checking.
Could you clarify then for the certification process, as far as pricing, they use a model system that everybody, so people that participate in this competition for certification respond to a model project and price it, and then based on that, you?
Yes, and most of the scoring on this type of pricing, because they don't have the extent of the entire project, is basically based off of their general services percentage. So that's usually what they turn in, and those range from anywhere between 3% to 6%. 6 being something we would never agree to.
Thank you, clarify.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote, starting with you.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. It passes 5+1, 0. Thank you, Crystal. It takes us to item 15I, adopt resolution number 13-17 for agreement of the 3-year contract between the State of California Department of Rehabilitation and the Cabrillo Unified School District.
Meredith, would you like to come forward on this one, please?
Welcome, Meredith.
Nice to see you. I wanted to bring to your attention that this is a business as usual. It is a 3-year extension for our contract with the State Department of Rehabilitation. It's the same contract we've had since 2004, and it provides funding for our students with transition and workability services that are needed by education law, social education law, for our IEP students. It's a 3-year extension. It's basically, if you approve this, we get the money. So if you would please approve and adopt resolution number 1317 for agreement of the 3-year contract between the State Department of Rehabilitation and Cabrillo Unified School District.
Motion to approve? A second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, discussion? I just want to say that I enjoyed reading it again, and I know we saw it 3 years ago, but it's just always wonderful to see the extent of the work that we do as a district, as a public school, the extent of the services. We talk about Big Lift and our preschool and our migrant work, and we talk about the end of the high school and helping kids who have special needs get out there in the workforce. And as I was reading all the different things, that the different responsibilities were, I was just very heartened by the work that we do. So thank you.
Thank you.
The roll call vote, starting with you. Aye.
Aye.
5+1 passes. Takes us to item 15J, approve Cabrillo Unified School District Governing Board policies. Updates and adopt the proposed revisions as recommended by the California School Board Association.
Yeah, so as I said, we, on a regular basis, in fact, pretty much every month, this is a standing agenda item. As the law changes and as policies change, the California School Boards Association makes us aware of it, gives us suggested language to bring it into alignment. And so at this point, we are bringing you a number of policies, most of them very minor this time, with the exception of the policy for suicide prevention, which is a massive overhaul of our policy. You had the public hearing on it earlier this evening, and it is here and it is ready for you to adopt so we can truly strengthen our commitment to our kids.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve policy updates?
approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-1 to 0. Okay, that takes us to our future board agenda items. We'll hold a public hearing for our local control accountability plan and our proposed budget at our beginning of June meeting. We'll then approve our local control accountability plan and our proposed budget for 2017-2018 at our second June meeting on June 23rd. We'll approve policy maintenance updates. And coming up, we have a reclassification ceremony at the Half Moon Bay High School on May 16th. On May 18th is the Cunha School Open House Night. May 22nd is the Kent Awards Dinner. Again, a call out to Pilarcitos and to Hatch for their award-winning programs. That should be a fun evening. May 23rd is the Cabrillo Unified School District Kinder Night at the El Granada Elementary. May 25th is the Kings Mountain Open House. A reminder too to board members who might have some of these schools as their site representative, it might be nice to be able to get to the open houses and see the work that the kids have done all year. May 26th is our DLAC parent meeting at 5 in the district office. May 29th is a holiday, all school sites are closed. May 30th is our middle college graduation ceremony at the College of San Mateo Theater. Our Fair Longview Elementary open house is 6 p.m. on June 1st, and our next board meeting is also that same evening, so I'm sorry we will not be there, Cesar, and we will not require you to be here. And that takes us to the end. We are not returning to closed session. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5+1. Thank you, everyone.